She won't come back because you convinced her. She'll come back because she feels you've changed. Let that sink in. Because this isn't about chasing someone who left. It's about becoming someone she can feel, even in your silence. Most men try to fix a breakup by doing more, sending long texts, overthinking every move. But what if the answer isn't in what you say? It's in who you are when you say nothing at all. In this video, we're diving deep into the truth most men avoid. That your energy tells the story long before your words ever do. And if you've ever wondered why she moved on so fast, why you feel stuck while she seems free, you're about to understand why. And more importantly, how to rise out of it. Because healing doesn't start when she comes back. It starts the moment you stop needing her to. So, if this already speaks to you, like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and join a growing movement of men who don't chase, they become. Let's begin. There's a quiet kind of truth that most men overlook in the aftermath of a breakup. It doesn't show up in the chaos or the silence. It shows up in the beliefs we carry forward. Subtle but heavy, not always spoken aloud, but always present. You might think your healing hasn't started because she moved on. Maybe she's seeing someone new. Maybe you're blocked on every platform. But that's not what's holding you back. What's holding you back is the belief that this is the end. That belief is what your energy responds to. It's what your body carries, what your presence reflects, and what your story keeps repeating. And the truth is simple, yet impossible to ignore once it's said aloud. If you believe it's possible, it's possible. If you believe it's impossible, that's exactly what it is. This isn't about being delusional. It's not about clinging to false hope. It's about understanding that your mind isn't just reacting to the loss. It's actively shaping what comes next. The way you see her absence becomes the lens through which you experience your own presence. You're not just missing her, you're mourning the version of yourself who no longer believes she could ever want you again. But belief isn't about begging the universe for mercy. It's about making a quiet decision that you are no longer the man she left. Not because you've become someone else to impress her, but because you've evolved into the kind of man who no longer chases love. He embodies it. And that shift? She'll feel it. Without a text, without a phone call. She'll feel the difference in the silence. Most men keep replaying the breakup like a movie stuck on repeat. They cycle through the same internal dialogue again and again. She's happier now. She moved on faster than I did. I was never enough. But those aren't facts. They're just the script you've memorized, one line at a time. The story doesn't repeat itself because it has to. It repeats because you keep telling it the same way. Change the script and everything shifts. Start speaking the language of the man you're becoming, not the one who was left behind. When you find yourself thinking she's gone, replace it with, "We're just out of alignment for now." When you feel the sting of being blocked, say to yourself, "She'll unblock me when my energy shifts." Because she doesn't respond to logic, she responds to energy. And that's the part we forget. At one time, when it all began, there were no strategies, no plans, no trying. The two of you didn't need to talk each other into the relationship. It just happened organically. And that's the way it's going to happen again. No begging, no over-explaining. Just two people aligned. Two frequencies that found each other without effort. So the work now isn't about winning her back. It's not about crafting the perfect message or finding the right excuse to reach out. It's about shifting your internal state until that alignment reappears naturally. Not forced, not chased, but earned through stillness and clarity. Because the man who knows she'll come back isn't the one who waits by the phone. He's the one who rises in silence until the world reflects that rise back to him. But belief alone isn't enough. It's where everything begins, yes. But the real shift happens when you stop holding on to the story and start changing the energy beneath it. Because no matter how deeply you believe, if your vibration stays stuck in the past, nothing moves. So let's talk about something most men never realize. It's not what you say that brings her back. It's who you are when you say nothing at all. There comes a point when words no longer work. You could write the longest message, pour your heart into every syllable, explain your side of the story in full clarity, and still she wouldn't feel it. Because that's the thing about love. It's not convinced by arguments. It's drawn by energy. It's guided by alignment. And if she pulled away from you, it's not because you forgot to say something. It's because something shifted inside you. Something subtle but powerful. Maybe life weighed you down. Maybe you stopped showing up with the same presence. Maybe you lost the calm, magnetic edge that once made her feel secure just being near you. And without knowing it, you drifted out of sync. You can't talk your way back into her heart because that's not how you got there in the first place. When she first fell for you, it wasn't because of a clever sentence or perfect moment. It was because you were present. You were still. There was no need to prove anything. You were simply aligned with yourself, with the moment, with her. And that kind of alignment can't be faked. It can't be manufactured. It has to be rebuilt from within. So don't chase, don't plead, don't try to fix it by saying more. Do what most men never consider. Return to the version of yourself that didn't need to impress her. The man who didn't beg for her attention because his presence was already enough. And then go further. Rise beyond him. Become the version of yourself she's never met, but always hoped you'd grow into. Because when you begin to raise your vibration, when you start living in the frequency of clarity, self-respect, and emotional peace, she will feel it, even in the silence, especially in the silence. That's when your energy becomes a presence in her life again, without ever needing to speak. Still, you might catch yourself wondering, how will it happen? How will she come back? How long will it take? These are questions rooted in fear, and fear is the voice of urgency, of doubt, of scarcity. It wants to predict everything because it doesn't trust that anything will happen on its own. But here's the truth most men overlook, the truth that resets the entire game. You don't need to know how it's going to happen. What you need to focus on is this: who are you becoming while you wait? That's where the real power is. That's the question that changes the outcome. Because in the vastness of this universe, or multiverse, there are infinite versions of you. There's a version where you never met, a version where things fell apart and never came back. But there's also a version where you're reunited. And not just reunited, but deeper, steadier, stronger than ever before. It already exists. On one timeline, you've never met. On another, you're back together, and it's already happened. You don't have to figure out the bridge between now and that outcome. You just have to walk as the man who belongs to it. That timeline, that version of your life, becomes reachable when your frequency matches it. And you reach it not by forcing, but by aligning, daily, intentionally, quietly. Let go of trying to predict the outcome. Let go of the need to control the when, the where, the how. Because everything you want isn't created by control. It's received through resonance. When you start living from that space, everything changes. The woman who once felt disconnected won't know what shifted. She'll just feel it. She'll start remembering the man who once stood in stillness and sense, without a word, that he's returned. Not just as he was, but better than before, more grounded, more clear, and this time, not waiting, but becoming. But alignment isn't just about silence or presence. It's about the quality of energy you carry when no one's watching. And if you truly want her to feel you again, not just remember you, but be drawn to you, it's not enough to stand still. You have to rise. And that rise begins with the one frequency most men overlook: love. But not the kind you give to get. The kind you give because it's who you've become. There's a reason why pain, regret, and sadness feel so heavy. They're emotions that vibrate low, close to fear and grief. They pull your energy downward, quietly reinforcing the belief that you've lost something permanently. And the more you live in them, the more distant everything you want begins to feel. But love, real love, exists on a different frequency entirely. Not the kind of love that clings or needs, not the kind that aches for reassurance or chases validation. The love that brings her back and brings you back to yourself is unconditional. It's clear, detached, rooted in peace. And when you're vibrating from that space, that rare, powerful range of 600 to 700, everything starts to shift. That's where you become a super magnet. A magnet not just for her, but for everything that aligns with peace, clarity, and wholeness. What most people misunderstand is this: you don't raise your vibration to win her over. You don't evolve to impress her. You rise because that's the natural path of someone who's no longer willing to stay trapped in emotional survival. You rise because you finally see that your worth was never tied to who stayed or who left. She doesn't become the goal. She becomes the echo, a byproduct of the man you've chosen to become. And the moment you start walking that path, something inside begins to shift. But only if you're not forcing the result. Because the truth is, the harder you try to control when she reaches out, or if she's with someone new, or whether she's watching your story, the more resistance you create. Let that go. This isn't about chasing a timeline. It's about falling in love with something much deeper than that. The process. The steady, sometimes quiet, but always profound process of becoming. You fall in love with your own growth. With the version of you who no longer doubts, who no longer waits in fear. And as you settle deeper into that identity, something incredible happens. She begins to feel the absence of the man she left and the undeniable presence of the man you've become. It's not important that you know how this all unfolds. That's not your job. As it's been said, it's not about knowing the details of how it's going to work. It's about falling in love with the process of raising your vibration, day by day, choice by choice, breath by breath. Because while words might not reach her, energy always does. When you silently send out love without need or pressure, just pure intention, it moves. And the universe reflects it back, every time. The intention becomes the message becomes the magnet. And if your heart is quietly holding space for her return, not as a demand, but as a gift, that signal finds her. It lands exactly where it needs to, even if she doesn't understand it at first. She won't know why her thoughts keep returning to you, why your name still carries weight, why her heart doesn't fully rest. But you will, because you didn't shout to be heard. You just became someone whose silence speaks louder than words. But even the strongest signal you send outward must be matched by the inner world you return to every night. Because energy isn't just about action, it's also about imagination. And if you truly want her to feel your presence again, it starts with what you quietly create when the world goes still. There's something powerful about what happens in the space between your thoughts and your dreams. That quiet moment just before sleep, when your guard is down and your heart is open. That's where creation begins. Before anything shows up in your reality, it must first exist inside of you, not as hope, not as longing, but as presence, as if it's already here. That's why visualization isn't about pretending, It's about preparing. It's not fantasy, it's emotional rehearsal. Tonight, when the noise of the day has faded, lie down and hold a pillow close, not out of loneliness, but out of intention. Close your eyes and speak softly into the silence. Whisper not with desperation, but with quiet certainty. It's okay. We're together. Everything feels good. We're back. And it feels even better than before. I'm grateful for us. Thank you for this second chance. I forgive. I release. I allow. We're okay. We're home. I love you. Good night. See you in my dreams. As you drift off to sleep, you're not escaping reality. You're inviting a new one to form, from the inside out. Because the subconscious mind doesn't care whether something is real or imagined. It responds to repetition, to emotion, to belief. And when you feed it a new story with feeling, it begins to rewrite what you experience in the waking world. But there's something else you must understand. Once you've planted the seed, you have to give it space to grow. That means letting go of the need to check the ground every hour to see if something has sprouted. The energy of impatience, of watching the clock, scanning for signs, only slows things down. Every time you say, "Nothing's happened yet," you're not just stating a fact, you're affirming it. You're reinforcing the very delay you want to avoid, and the universe listens. It always does, not to your words, but to the frequency behind them. So shift the affirmation, not to blind optimism, but to grounded faith. Say this instead: something is unfolding even if I don't see it yet. And then let that be enough. Because when you stop grasping for the outcome, she begins to feel the space you've created, the stillness, the presence, and in that space, something powerful happens. She starts remembering. Not the man who tried to convince her, but the man whose love, even in silence, still lingers. I've seen enough men break down after a breakup to know that pain alone isn't what undoes them. It's the narrative they carry afterward, the story that whispers, "It's over," even when something deeper inside of them knows that might not be the case. I've been there too, where you think it's the silence that hurts the most. But really, it's the meaning you attach to that silence. And the truth I've learned, not just through thought, but through experience, is this: she doesn't feel your words, she feels your energy. And that energy is built not through force, but through alignment, not through chasing, but through becoming. What I've shared with you isn't a tactic to manipulate her heart. It's a return to your center, to the version of you that doesn't need to prove anything, because his presence already says enough. The man who understands that belief is the beginning, but not the whole journey, because belief must be followed by embodiment, and embodiment comes when you stop asking when she'll come back, and start asking who you're becoming in the meantime. You don't attract love back by proving your worth. You attract love back by finally seeing it in yourself, before anyone else does. You raise your vibration not for her, but for you. And ironically, that's what makes her feel it most. The moments that matter won't always be loud. They might come when you're lying in bed at night, holding space in your heart instead of clinging to outcomes. They'll come when you replace the phrase, "nothing's happening," with a quiet trust that something already is. They'll come not when you try to fix the past, but when you start embodying the man who no longer needs it to return in order to be whole. So what's the lesson here? It's this: you don't get her back by going after her. You get her back by going back to yourself, your peace, your presence, your energy. Because once you reclaim that, she doesn't come back because she misses the past. She comes back because she feels your evolution and realizes she was never drawn to who you were. She was drawn to who you were becoming, and now you're there. If something in these words resonated with you, let that be your gentle reminder. Growth doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. This space was created for men who choose not to chase, but to rise. If you felt the truth in that, stay close. Subscribe to Stoic Station and walk this path with others. Men who are becoming more by choosing less. Your presence here? It means something. Until we meet again, move forward. Not with urgency, but with purpose.